This is an interesting one. Would you ever review a brain implant? Why or why not? Look, I never say never. I'm like Justin Bieber. I never say never. But I'm pretty sure I would never review a brain implant. Like
we could hire someone for that.
Because the question though with like a brain implant, I'm assuming you're thinking about like Neuralink and the future of like augmented tech with your body. Those in their earliest stages appear to be permanent alterations.
Yeah.
Right?
So, and it'd be so early. Like, imagine getting the Google Glass equivalent of a brain implant. Like, you don't want that.
Yeah, I'll let people ride that out a couple years. Let the tech get better. 3rd, 4th generation Neuralink. Then we'll see what's going on. So for the why or why not, yeah, it seems like you typically want to, wait for the tech to develop a little bit before permanently altering your entire body.
That sounds good.
Your brain.
I want to hear from Armchair Critic. It looks like they're trying to say critic, but critic. Play on words. Like it. One gadget from the past, bring it back and refine a little. That's good for the next 5 to 10 years. So I want to change this a little bit because there's something that kind of popped into my head. It's not necessarily a gadget, but one thing that I really miss from tech a long time ago is playing games offline with others. Like, it's something that is almost impossible to do these days because all of the games you buy are online and you almost always need online connectivity to play them. And while in theory that sounds super easy, like we all have Wi-Fi, we all have that, it's really not that hard. And it's combating piracy. You know, if you buy the game, you can't just go offline and then play it and then other people can play it or whatever. But if you like have a bunch of people coming over to play like some LAN games or something, and your Wi-Fi just can't handle all that, now you're all lagging. Something's an issue. It's at the point where there's a really big tournament for Valorant yesterday. Mm-hmm. Riot themselves set it up, whole stage, everything. The client's still online and not local. And there are multiple instances where players in a tournament that it's their last chance. It's literally called last chance qualifiers to qualify for the Worlds event. And people were lagging out. And there were like issues with players lagging, and they're literally sitting across from each other. Like, that's just ridiculous to me. I miss the days of all of us bringing our TVs and Xboxes over to each other's houses and playing Halo all night and not having to worry about an internet connection and doing it wherever I want. If I get an Airbnb somewhere and I want to like bring some offline games to something, I just want to be able to do that. It's infuriating.
It's a really good answer. I actually had a gadget answer.
Okay.
HTC One M8 Google Play Edition. Bring that phone back in a modern style. Like, keep the huge boom sound speakers, but like trim up the square sides, push the screen closer to the corners, metal body, big battery, stock Android, new cameras. I would use that phone. Sounds great.
Nice.
Maybe that's what the Pixel's going to be. We'll see.
I think we've seen the Pixel already.
Yeah. Oh, someone asked, when's the Plaid Model S review coming out? We have a whole bunch of plans for car stuff as well. Now, here's the thing about car videos in the Northeast. We love shooting them, and I love making them, obviously. But in the Northeast, the temperature plummets right around November, and it goes from being like 60s, 70s, 80s every day to being like 30, 20, 10, and it's really not fun to spend a whole day outside shooting a car video. So
it's really not fun.
Yeah, so we kind of have like seasons where we can go for a while for shooting car videos, and then we just kind of go a while without shooting any car videos.
Yeah.
So with Plaid Model S review, I'm thinking I want to do that before it gets cold, but I'm not sure yet. I do have about 8,000 miles on the car though, and I do feel ready to review it though. Okay. So expect that at some point.
I have kind of a fun story if we can rant or go off a little bit here. So I think it was like a year or two ago, we got offered to go to Tesla's, it was like their testing facility in Alaska to see how they work in like extreme cold weather. And we were like, oh yeah, we're going, got ready to do it. Then like an earthquake happened in Anchorage and we weren't able to fly out, and we were so bummed about it. And then like that next week in New Jersey, we made our video on the McLaren 720S, I think it was. And it was so cold here. We had the most miserable time shooting it. We would go out, shoot for like 5 minutes, and then we had a car that just had the heat blasting the whole time, and we would jump back in, and all of us looked at each other and we're just like, I can't believe we thought we could go to Alaska.
We would not have survived.
We were not equipped to do any of that. And so yeah, it gets really cold, and that makes it so hard to shoot car stuff. Yeah.
Literally, we would get out the car, leave the heat going in the car, shoot for like 5 minutes until our hands were numb and you couldn't actually feel the record button anymore, and then you'd have to get back in the car and thaw your hands.
It was like an RDX or an MDX, and it had a heated steering wheel, and we were like, people were reaching over just grabbing the steering wheel to try and warm their hands back.
Yep, that was the time.
Brutal,
So we wouldn't have survived.
No.
Here's one question. I haven't thought of my answer, but I like the question, so I'll just toss it over.
Okay.
What is the most underrated tool, tech or not, in the studio for producing videos? So
that's a really good question, because we have a lot of non-tech tools that I think the reflection blocker that we made.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's like, that thing's like 4 years old. It's just a piece of poster board that we cut a hole for the lens to stick in so that all of the buttons and stuff on the camera don't reflect in glass. So that's probably the most used like filming piece of equipment that's not like a tripod or a camera or a microphone or lights. We use that for every single video we shoot. On
top of that, a lot of people don't know this, like shooting a phone or any sort of reflective surface, that was cut out of a black piece of foam core. And we have a bunch more of those that will literally just hold up to block reflections. So I'm shooting a video, I have the camera in one hand and I've got the phone in the other hand, and then like Vin is on the other side triangulating to block the reflection so that we don't have glare on the phone when we're shooting that stuff. So that might be the most, I never talk about this, but that might be the most underrated.
Definitely most underrated. I mean, there's also some, if you're a grip or have worked on a film set, there's so many things that are super important that people who don't do that, like sandbags. The amount of stuff that is held up by just sandbags, like there's a huge light right over a bunch of cameras right now, and without some sandbags, it would probably fall down. We have another flag over there that without a sandbag would probably be constantly falling on top of us and breaking things. Like there is a lot of non-tech stuff that's super important.
Half-size Apple boxes.
We don't have any.
Just ordered a bunch of half-size Apple boxes.
Apple boxes are also huge.
Yeah, they're huge.
Is there any tech ones that are specifically underrated and super important?
You know, I always come back to this, and maybe it's not underrated anymore since I've talked about it so much, but the lens I use far more than any other is Sigma's 24-35. And before that, it was their 18-35 for the same reason. It's a wide angle, fast zoom with close focus distance, and it's sharp. For some reason, I can't find any other lens that satisfies all those things. Canon makes an 18-35. It's not as fast and it's not as sharp, but it's close. But yeah, 18-35 on crop or 24-35 full frame. It's great for like first-person shots, but at 35, you can get right up on something and get really close to it. So it's like I only need the macro sometimes, and it's f2 or T2, so f1.8. So it's a fast lens, and it's very corner-to-corner sharp. We've got all our filters for it. It's just like I almost never need to use any other lens. It's awesome. But it's not underrated anymore because I've talked about it already.
What's an overrated piece? What's something that's
camera.
The camera itself is the overrated?
I hate saying that because I love the camera, but it gets too much credit.
Agree with you.
It gets too much credit. Like anytime someone sees a great shot in a video, they're like, well, of course it looks good. It was shot on an 8K Monstro camera. It's like you can do crazy things with other cameras. It's not about the camera or the 8K as like people like to focus on as much as it is about the technique and the lighting and all the other things that go into it. So I think the camera gets too much credit sometimes.
Yeah, and like you've never disagreed with the fact like, why do you buy a red camera? Like you could probably get something super similar with R5 or whatever. It's like, yeah, we could, but there are still so many benefits of having the bigger frame and resolution and
it's
everything
like
the
that. Tool makes it easier, but the tool is not necessary. It's like if I'm a golfer and I got a driver that was like, 5 years newer than my old driver, it's not going to totally transform my game. I still have to swing the club. So yeah, like I wouldn't switch back to the old driver, and I love the new one, but like, come on, you gotta hit the ball yourself. Yeah. So that's my analogy for sports for the day.
Thanks for watching that clip. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, I guess you just don't care about the massive tech information that is just going to blow into your sub box next week.
We're gonna blow the doors off your sub box.
Yeah, it's
in a good way.
YouTube's gonna go down with all the content we're releasing.
Whoa! We don't want it to go down.
Oh,
but we want it to be right at the verge of going down because of how much traffic there is.
But if they don't hit subscribe, it will go down.
Yes.
So hit subscribe.
In order to save YouTube.
Save us, please.
It's just one red button. It's easy.
Thanks. And the thumbs up one too. And a comment.